So for this digital video, we're going to be talking about some of the mistakes that were very common on the test related to division with decimals. I'm going to go ahead and set up a problem for you. And this was one of the problems that was on the test. It was 77 and 7/10 divided by 21 hundredths. Now, the main strategy that you should think about when you're looking at these type of division with decimal divisor problems is how to turn this decimal into a whole number. So one of the strategies that we talked about was the jump strategy, where you can jump the decimal over to create this as a whole number. Now, whatever you do to the divisor, you also have to do to the dividend. So I'm going to go ahead and set this up and show you how we might work through this type of problem. So we'll go ahead and we'll put our dividend inside of our division house like this. And then we'll go ahead and put our divisor outside of our division house, just like this. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and use our jump strategy to turn our divisor. Remember, we're turning the divisor, not the dividend. The divisor is the most important part because we're trying to see how many groups, whole groups, our dividend can go into. It's hard to figure out how many part groups something goes into. In other words, if you had 8 friends and you had a cake, it would be very easy to explain how much cake each friend would get if they each got equal slices. But it would be very hard to explain how much cake a part of a friend got, like a 21/100th of a friend got. So that's why one of our strategies here is to turn this into a whole number divisor. So we're going to use our jump strategy here, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump this over 1, 2 to make this 21 wholes. And remember, whatever we do to our divisor, we have to do to our dividend as well. 1, 2, and there's a empty space here. We can add a 0. Now, one of the things that I noticed, and maybe I wasn't clear when I taught this to you guys, is that because we've moved the decimal over here, we can go ahead and put the decimal in the same place all the way down. It's going to make a wall. So when you move your decimal in your dividend, you can go ahead and build that wall. Okay, so that would be the next step. Now, we basically are going to see how many times 21 wholes, how many times we can divide 7,770 into 21 wholes. All right, so we're going to go ahead and say, okay, how many times does 21 go into 7? It does not go into 7 because 7 is too small. How many times does it go into 77? I'm going to guess about 3 times because I know 3 times 20 is 60. And I know if I add 4 groups of 20, that'll be too much because that makes 80. So I'm going to go ahead and say it's going to take 3 groups of 21. 3 times 21, I can do 3 times 20 in my head is 60. And 3 times 1 in my head is 3. So 20 plus 3 is 63. I'll subtract to see what's left over. And 14 is left over. I'll bring down whatever's left to work with, which is a 7 here. And I'm just going to look here to check if 21 can go into my 14. It cannot. It's too small. So I'll ask, how many times can 21 go into 147? Well, I know that 2 times 7 is 14. So 20 times 7 must be 140. So I wonder if maybe I said I'd do 21 times 7. Let's see if it works. It's exactly the number that I need. So I'll go ahead and say 7 here. 21 times 7 is 147. And then I'm going to subtract to see if I have any remainder from that. I don't. Now notice here that we have a spot that is not filled up. This is our 1 spot. When you have a number that is not filled up, you can simply put a 0 here. Okay. Now, if you're not sure, you can use the multiply to check strategy, which basically you're just going to say 21 times 370, okay, we'll put a 0 there. 21 times 7 is 147, excuse me, and 21 times 3 is 63. So, and if we add that all up, oops, I must have made a mistake somewhere. I can use a calculator to check myself, and it does. It works out. It makes 370. Okay, there's nothing after the decimal. It divides evenly, and we can say that we have found our dividend. Excuse me, our quotient. I'm going to give you some practice problems to work through, and then you can pause the video, and after the pause, you can see if you were right or not. All right, here's some problems for you to work through. After you've worked through these problems, again, you can simply unpause the video and see if you got them right. Okay, so now that you've had time to work through the solutions, I'm going to go ahead and show you what I got when I divided them, and you can check yourself. So for the first one, when you divided 83.2 by 0.4, that was one jump. Our divisor is going to jump over by 1. Our dividend will also jump over by 1. And then it will go into that 2 times, because 8 divided by 4 is 2. We bring down our 3. Now 4 will not go into 3. So we're going to need to put a 0 there because 4 will not go into 3. However, 4 does go into 32 8 times. So we do 4 times 8 is 32. There's 0 left over. So our solution is 208. We can also use estimation to roughly get our answer. We know that roughly speaking, if we were to divide 83 into 4 groups, that's similar to saying multiplying it by 4, which is roughly about 200 and something. And we'll talk more about that next unit, how division with fractions is sort of like multiplying with whole numbers. All right, and then for our bottom one, we would do 3 jumps to make our divisor a whole number 33. And our 1.32 becomes 1,320. And now we can go ahead and go through our division. Now, 33 does not go into 1. It does not go into 13. It does go into 132. I thought 5 times, but that was too big. 4 times was the right number. It goes exactly 4 times to make 132. I went ahead and wrote up my factor at the top, and that was in the tens place. How did I know that was in the tens place? Because it's right above the 10 here. Tens are always lined up. Ones are lined up. Hundreds are lined up. So we go ahead and we'll write our 0 here. We can check our answer by multiplying 40 times 33. 40 times 33 is 1,320.